When I first started shooting video, I was pretty overwhelmed when it came to colour grading. There's so many LUT and power grade options out there, but these often have their own learning curves, and there's another really simple way to get amazing colours out of any camera with a very simple setup. This was my go-to method for a pretty long time. A lot of my earlier videos I shot using this approach, and I still use it now when I want to get a really clean grade without having to tweak lots of different levers in Resolve. There are of course other options out there for building a more sophisticated look. One of those is my own film power grade, Keychrome 16, which is designed specifically to emulate motion picture film. This is available on my website along with a host of other useful tools, including a specific Vlog conversion LUT for those of you that are Panasonic shooters. So it's not really a secret by any means, but I'm often surprised with the amount of people that aren't aware of the free ARRI LUT that sits within DaVinci Resolve's LUT library. This LUT essentially provides a Rec 709 output for actual ARRI footage, but it also treats any footage that has been converted into the ARRI colour space. Personally, this is a colour space that I love to use because it brings out some amazing colours and also provides a lot of latitude for your footage, which is super important if you're using an 8-bit camera. So you need to start by creating 6 nodes and assign a colour space transform to the second to last node. Enter your input colour space and gamma for your specific camera. This footage is from the GX80, so I'll select sRGB in both boxes. We're then going to select ARRI Wide Gamut 3 as the output colour space and ARRI Log C3 as the output gamma. We've now converted our colour space to ARRI, and we can now apply the ARRI LUT that's included by default in DaVinci's LUT library. I love this LUT because it provides a great starting point for the colour in the image, and as you'll also be able to see from the waveforms, it gives a lot of latitude for working with exposure and white balance. It's not going to look perfect to start with, so from here you need to adjust the exposure of the image in the first node with the lift gamma and gain wheels. I'll increase the colour boost and the saturation ever so slightly just to bring a bit more life into the colours. I'll then correct the white balance based on my intention for the image in the second node, which is a slightly warmer look for me. I'll then use the third node to create a contrast curve. I'll turn on the editable splines from the 3 bars, and I'll then drop a point at the bottom of the chart and bring this down, and then a point on the top of the chart and bring this up to create a nice gentle S-curve. One thing I also like to do is to bring down the highlight point slightly. This is a nice way of retaining some of the highlight detail and making the roll off much smoother, which gives a much more filmic look. The last thing to do is soften up the image slightly by applying a Gaussian blur to the node before the colour space transform. Digital footage is often way too sharp, especially if you're shooting in a picture profile that adds sharpening when shooting. The Gaussian blur takes some of that away and blends the different tones, but at the start it's going to be way too strong, so you can zoom in on the image and reduce the threshold as well as the global slider until you get the effect you want. And honestly, I think we're pretty much done with this clip. There's so much more you can do to this footage, but if you're just starting out in Resolve and want to cut through all of the complexity of the platform, this simple workflow creates a really natural image. So now let's apply this look to some other clips. So this is a clip from a recent video I made of my trip to Sardinia. This was shot on the Lumix G9 in 8-bit using the CINELIKE D profile. This is definitely my favourite picture profile to use if I'm not shooting in log, and there's also a film LUT for this picture profile specifically on my website. So I'll just copy across the nodes from the previous clip, and already this looks pretty good to me. The one thing I can notice is that it's slightly oversaturated, and so I'll reduce the saturation and the colour boost slightly just to correct that. The only other thing I'll do here is correct the exposure by bringing down the lift slightly and increasing the gain. And it's as simple as that. We've gone from our ungraded footage to a clean, natural looking grade in seconds. So give this a go and let me know how you get on.